Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we are going to make some happy birthday cards using some stuff from my stash. Now, I realize you probably don't have the exact same products that I have, but that's fine because what I'm going to talk about today is using your stash because we probably all have some stuff we can use. I love this Sock Monkey stamp. It's from Stampin' Up, so if you are looking for this one on eBay or something, if you just search like Stampin' Up Sock Monkey, you'll probably find it. Oriental Trading had a really cute Sock Monkey set, probably about 10 years ago too, you might find. But you could always draw it or trace it or find a printable coloring page. You know, you don't have to use stamps to make a greeting card. There's no law, guys. You can use whatever you have. So what I did was I stamped the stamp again on a piece of Post-it note and I cut it out. And then I put that on top of the monkey. That way I could stamp something and have it appear behind the monkey and I won't have the lines like kind of crossing over each other, if that makes sense. I won't have something stamped on top of each other. This technique is called masking and I use it a lot, so much so that I always have a pad of Post-it notes handy so that I can stamp a stamp onto a Post-it note, cut it out, and have a mask ready to go. Now, this little fishing rod and fish stamp was from Rubbernecker. That's a company that I always shop whenever I go to the stamp show. They've changed their name to Brass and Bliss. I'm not sure if they still have the same stamps or not, but that's where I would check if you're looking for that particular stamp. It's a really cute one. And I bought this stamp probably about 5 years ago, probably more, thinking I want to use it with a sock monkey, and it had never seen ink. Now there, I was trying the masking again for that hat, and I realized, no, the hat would be over the head, but that's okay. I'll stamp it again on a scrap of watercolor paper and do it again. And here I'm just making 2 cards at once because let me tell you, if you get out all your supplies to make 1 card, it does not take that much longer to make 2 cards. So my biggest piece of advice is if you're making a card, make 2. Now I used to do this back when I first got into card making a lot because I would send cards to magazines for publication and you had to send the actual card. You couldn't send a photo. So I got in the habit of making 2. I would make 1 for whatever occasion I needed, and then I would make 1 to send to a magazine. And then I also rented a booth at an antique mall where I'd sold my cards. So then I would make, 3 or 4 cards. So I'd have 1 or 2 to sell, 1 to use, and 1 to send to a magazine. So, but it occurred to me as I was doing that it's that first card that takes all the time. After that, it's so quick and easy to make the others because you have all your supplies out. You have the idea. The idea is what takes the longest time. Now, another tip that I have is that keep your supplies where you'll see them and remember them. This happy birthday stamp is another one from Stampin' Up. Now, one thing I will say is that the stamps that I have from Stampin' Up are ones that I tend to use the most, and I think it's because they're the ones I spent the most money on and I had to think about the most. So when you are thinking about adding a stamp to your stash, don't buy it just because it's a good deal, just because it's a bargain, because it's not a bargain if you don't use it. These stamps that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, like that Sock Monkey set, I paid full price for that. I thought about that a lot before I bought it. And because I put a lot of thought into it, I remembered it. It's a wood-mounted stamp, so it takes up physical space on a shelf. I'm always seeing it when I'm in my craft room. So I remember that I have it. And the same thing with my sentiment stamps. I keep them on a letterpress tray on the wall in my craft room, so I see it every time I walk in. So when I need to find a happy birthday stamp because I'm making a card, I'm going to go to that and use that first. Now here I'm stamping with some of the offcut of this watercolor paper I stamped on, and I didn't want to waste it. And I figured, oh, I'd like to have some other cupcakes, and I really need to do another hat because the hat did not look right. And so I just stamped it there. Now there I got a fingerprint on my card, and I didn't want to throw it away and start over. So I'm using this ink eraser. It's called the Faber-Castell Perfection Eraser. I think that's what it's called anyway. But it's kind of white, gritty material. And I think it's kind of was meant for typewriters, like for erasing ink. And it got rid of all of that smudge on there, which was so good. And it's got that little brush. You probably have one. Look in your junk drawer. That's where you find those. They're in your junk drawer with all the other crap you probably thought you'd never use again. It's called, there you go, Perfection by Faber-Castell. It's a nice kind of gritty, sandy eraser that will take those mistakes off your paper. Now, it's going to disturb the sizing on your watercolor paper, so just kind of keep that in mind. You may have, if you paint over that area, it may take your ink a little differently, a little bit strong, like a little bit darker, but for getting that fingerprint off the card, it was just wonderful. And the markers I'm using, I wanted a watercolor look. That's why I stamped on hot press watercolor paper. Hot press paper just means it's smooth, and it's better for stamping because like the ink won't skip over the texture of the paper. And these are Faber-Castell watercolor markers. Now, these markers, these are probably overkill for a card, let's be honest. These are a wonderful marker, though, and I think that there's no problem using your artist grade supplies on crafts and card making because you bought it to use it, right? These markers are wonderful because they're light fast. These are the Albright Drewer watercolor markers from Faber-Castell. But if you don't have these Tombow markers, the Zig clean color markers, any of the real brush markers work really well because they're easy to blend. Use whatever you have. Use watercolors, honestly, for that matter. You don't have to buy several products that do the same thing. And I know that sounds really ironic coming from me, who has like such a huge stash of supplies, but there's so many different ways to get the same exact look. You could use watercolor pencils. You could use watercolors, your kids' watercolors. You can use markers. Here, if you have markers that don't blend very well, like I have some Memento markers and they do not blend very well, but if you scribble them onto a plate or a palette and then pick them up with a wet brush, you can get those blended watercolory looks a lot easier. So, I guess the moral of the story is, yeah, you probably don't have exactly the same things that I'm using, but you probably have something that will work at about 95% accuracy or similarity, right? Maybe you don't have a sock monkey stamp, but you have an elephant stamp, or you have a lion stamp, or you have a fisherman stamp. Who knows? Use what you have, take the techniques, take what works for you, and leave the rest. Now, I love saving the little scraps of paper that I've been stamping on because you can test out your ink or any other supplies and see how it's actually going to look, blend, and work on that paper. So I had 5x7 sheets of watercolor paper there. It was the Altenew hot press paper. This is a great size for cards too. And I was making a 5x7 card, but I know I didn't want the paper that big. I wanted to cut it down so I could use some pattern papers. So having those little offcuts let me check markers, make sure they blend together and not be muddy, see how things stamped, see how things worked, see how things looked, cut extra things if I needed them, like the cupcakes and the hats. And it just gives you a lot of versatility. Plus, those are scraps. You're just going to throw them away afterwards, probably, because they're not really that big enough to save. This way you can use them for testing colors and for stamping some little extra embellishments for your cards. Because there's no rule saying you have to go buy a bunch of embellishments. Oftentimes, stamping the same elements you used on your card on another piece of watercolor paper and then coloring it and then gluing it down is going to look really great. It's going to make the perfect embellishment. So I know that, you can get really sick of like store-bought embellishments. You buy a package of like enamel dots, you buy a package of buttons or brads or something, and after a while you just get sick of them. You get sick using the same ones over and over again, and then they sit in your drawer unused. But if you make your own embellishments just by stamping something again, you know it's going to match, you know it's going to go with your card, and you've used up some scraps and you've gotten more use out of the supplies that you have. Not to mention, this is a flat card, meaning it's going to mail just fine with no extra postage, which is really handy when you get to making a lot of cards and sending a lot of cards. Postage really adds up. So having a flat card that really looks fantastic is wonderful. So here's my technique for coloring. It's a really simple one. It's so much easier than using alcohol markers, is just to take your watercolor markers, color the shadow area, and then take a wet brush and just spread it out. You don't need the brush too wet. If the brush is too wet, you'll get kind of like a flood and all the color will push to the edge of the area you're painting, but you'll get the hang of it, and that's again where you test on the scraps to see how you feel like the look or not. Now, another tip I wanted to share, the ink you use to stamp is important. You want to make sure you're using an ink pad that is compatible with your color medium. Since I'm using watercolor markers, or use watercolors, I'm using a waterproof ink, and I used the Ranger archival ink, and I have a pad of that in black and in brown. Those two are the colors I use the most, and they're wonderful because I can use watercolors, watercolor markers, I could use gelatos, any of those products, watercolor crayons, and it's not going to smear that ink. And then I also have an ink pad that's for when I use my alcohol markers. So just make sure you use the right ink for the job so your paint doesn't smudge out. Another tip I'll have is that if you have an ink pad, try to have some fine liners that match. So I have both sepia and black fine liners, and the nice thing about those fine liners is the ink in those are actually waterproof and marker proof, so I can use them for filling in any mistakes in my stamping. So I don't know if you caught it, but like the happy birthday, didn't stamp perfectly, and I had to go in with a pen and I just redid some of the lines. I just used a really fine tip black fine liner that was waterproof, and having pens like just black and brown, really it's all you need. Have it and have a black and brown stamp pad. Then you can fix any stamping mistakes or stamping areas where the ink skipped or was too light, and you don't have to waste the paper and start over again. Another tip I'll share is, if you love to do coloring techniques like this, is to stamp out a bunch and then have them in a little pencil case with your markers, and then you can color them whenever you have a free moment. Now, I think this adds a lot of character and a lot of interest and professionalism to your project, adding a little drop shadow. So what you want to do is kind of figure out where your light's coming from. The light is coming from above here, so I just put the shadow falling below the cupcake and the sock monkey's legs, and it just gives it a little bit of an extra depth and dimension. Now, another tip I will share for coloring is repeat your colors. So I've used a coral, a kind of crimsony pinky red, a yellow ochre, and a brown, and a sap green. And I just keep reusing those colors, and that makes the whole card cohesive. Now, when you're picking your colors, a good idea is to look at the pattern paper. If you're going to be using pattern paper or other embellishments for your cards, look at that paper and choose your color palette first. And that way you know you're going to match whatever your paper is. I knew I was going with something pretty pretty bright and cheerful, so it was pretty easy to pick these colors. But just having a quick glance at the paper that you're thinking about using, choosing your paper first, will make it a lot easier to get your color scheme down for your card. Plus, if you're going by the color scheme on some pattern paper, you've already got that work figured out for you. You know it's going to look good because somebody else has already picked it, right? So don't make it too hard on yourself. If you feel like color is a challenge, then start with the pattern paper, or you can use a color palette tool. There's the color cubes; those are really fun to use. You can also look at palettes on Pinterest. So there's lots of ideas there if you struggle with color. Color is probably one of my favorite things to work with, and I love putting different colors together. I also like seeing like all my markers together in a jumble, and then just choosing a few colors and laying them together and seeing, how they look. I find that really fun to do. And even if I don't need a card for something, having like some things that are already stamped and ready to go that I can play with color on is a lot of fun. And the more of those little pieces you get done ahead of time, the better off. Now here I'm just fussy cutting out the little extra cupcakes that I colored, and I'm gonna adhere them onto the card. But I gotta put the shadow in first because I want them to be cohesive and I want them all to match. And when you have a flat card like this, just doing little things like shadow help give it a little bit of dimension without actually making the card thick and more expensive to mail. So it's worth it. It only takes a second to add that little shadow there. And when in doubt, just think about where the sun would be shining, and then you put your shadow opposite that. I hope that makes sense. Now here I am trying to glue a hat over the one that I stamped and cover it up as much as possible, but it didn't work out so well. So I tried to erase it, but that ink was stamped strong, so it's just too much ink to erase. When you had just like a little finger smudge, it's a lot easier. I actually ended up using some correction tape. You can see the little correction tape wheel thing there. I used a little whiteout and it worked fine. This product right here is basically like a glitter glue. It's by the Grisaille company, which is a colored pencil project company. You could use any sort of like a sparkle gel pen or any sort of fine glitter glue, or even just a little bit of glue and sprinkle a little fine glitter on it. But this is kind of handy to use. It has a little applicator. But basically what I wanted this to look like is just like kind of scales, fish scales. So having that little shimmer of glitter over the rainbow color of the fish I thought would look really cute. And it did. I like the way it looks a lot. And that doesn't flake off either. So if you're sending a card to somebody and they don't like to have loose glitter around, that really helps. And then I added a little bit on the cupcake candle flames, and I put a little bit on the pom-pom on the monkey's hat as well because I thought that was a really cute touch. In addition to adding shadows underneath the objects in the card, I like to also add some sparkly highlights where applicable, and I thought this happy birthday would look really nice with some white gel pen highlights. And these are wonderful white gel pens. They're by Boo Tiger. There's a few different sellers on Amazon that sell these, but they are extremely pigmented white gel pens, and they do not clog as easily easily as some of the other brands, and they're very affordable. So I will link those down below too. And now it's time to put the card together. I just took some scraps of birthday paper that I had kicking around and decided to use them up. And they're not going to be exactly the same. And I did have to kind of piece stuff together to cover the card back. But honestly, I just wanted to get a little bit of festive card pattern, whatever you want to call it, pattern paper in the background. And then I like to use some leftovers to decorate the inside of the card. So when I am done making cards, and inevitably you have scraps, what I tend to do is just put them right in the paper pad. I tend to buy paper pads rather than single sheets because the papers go together and they're easier to use, but I'll just put them together and keep them like an envelope in my paper pad. Now here I'm just using a wax crayon. This is a Neocolor 1 by Caran d'Ache. You could use even a Crayola. The reason I'm using this is because I wanted to just give a little bit of a border to it, but I didn't want the ink to smear or anything. And I figured I'd have a little bit more control. Plus I think having that crayon border looks very, you can see I make mistakes. Look, I make mistakes and I use the other side of the paper. Nothing wrong with that. Let's save some money, guys. Let's save our resources. Let's use our resources wisely, right? And yeah, just adhering that onto the card base. I love that crayon border. To me, it just looks like, I don't know, so youthful and cute. And there was this really thin strip that said happy birthday to you on this pattern paper. And I just trimmed it out to use as an embellishment. So, that's another way I like to do embellishing for my cards is a lot of times when you buy the paper packs, which is another reason I like them, is that they have oftentimes these cut apart sheets where it'll be tags or embellishments or tiles or whatever, but those are great to cut apart and then use as embellishments either on the outside or the inside of your card. And I also like the ones that have these like strips, and it'll just be like strips of the different patterns that are in the book, because those are really great for borders, especially when you don't want to cut into a full piece just to get a little bit of a contrasting pattern. And yeah, just kind of eyeballing things, trimming them out with my scissors. You don't have to have fancy die cutters. You don't even have to have paper trimmers. If you don't want them or you don't have them, you can get by with scissors. You don't need to have tons and tons of supplies. And there you can see the two cards that I made all done. Now I do like to do something in the middle, now especially with kids cards, because with kids cards, oftentimes I'll buy a gift certificate to like a game store or a toy store or something like that. And then, or even, you can even do cash, I'll make a little pocket. So I'll take some of the leftover paper and I'll put adhesive down on 3 sides and I'll just stick it in there so that you can actually put something in that, like money or a gift card or whatever. And that's like the gift. And it's great if you don't know exactly what to give somebody. And I think that's a lot of fun for younger people, especially kids that don't have, if they don't have their own money, so they get to spend it on what they want. I thought it'd be fun to decorate the envelope. I'm just using a plain white envelope. This is not meant for media or anything. So I stamped the balloon, then I stuck my Post-it note down, and I'm going to stamp some more balloons around it so I can get kind of like a cluster of balloons. And then I would still have room to write the return address date, the return address, and then the regular sending address in the middle, or just a big name, whatever, if I was hand delivering it, whichever. Generally, I do hand deliver cards if I have a gift card in there, but yeah, either way it would work out. And with balloons, if you did stamp them over and not mask, like I did make a mistake there and got stamped over, that's fine because balloons can be translucent too. So it'd be totally fine to see through it. Now I would use water-based markers if you're coloring directly on one of these thin envelopes. You can see they're kind of streaky looking because this is not a paper meant for coloring, but I think it looks cute too, especially once you add the highlights. You can also stencil or stamp on the envelope and not color it in. That would look just as cute. And it kind of gives the recipient a little hint about what might be inside. So there is some tips for making your birthday cards for your loved ones and using what you have. Now, hopefully this has sparked some ideas and you're thinking about your stash of supplies and what you might have that will go together. Maybe it gave you an idea to use a couple products that you haven't thought about using together before. A lot of times we see stamps coming in sets and we don't think about mixing them with other products, but you get way more versatility when you mix and match your supplies. And rubber stamps are meant to be used hundreds and hundreds of times. So if you only use them a handful of times, then you're not seeing them to their full potential. So I hope that you found this inspiring. I hope it makes you make a card today. And I want to thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up before you go. Until next time, happy crafting.